Hey everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting your own company as taking the leap, as if they're blindly jumping off of a cliff and into the unknown. This show is to help you understand that it doesn't have to be that way. I'll share with you the process I used for starting my company, and you too can soon be on the way to starting your very own service-based business. We'll work through some of the common issues that are preventing you from starting your own company and fulfilling your own true potential. As always, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and help share The Void with someone who might also be wanting to start their own company. We saw an opportunity to help others understand that self-employment is most assuredly within your reach. Just as our businesses have grown organically and by word of mouth, we want this show to do the same thing. It takes two things for that to happen. We have to deliver you guys some great content, and you guys have to help share our valuable message. We know that many of you are on different social media platforms out there for your various trades and skills and crafts. Facebook groups, for instance, are begging for this kind of information virtually every day. So if you see somebody asking questions on social media about what they should do to start their company, do us a favor and drop a link to the show. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me as always is David.
Mitch, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
You know, normally we do these in the afternoon and evenings.
Yes.
We're morning working today.
We're morning working.
I'm on the struggle bus.
Sometimes we have cocktails. This morning we have coffee. So I
have a cocktail, but it's not alcohol.
Right.
But, you know.
It's a morning drink.
But yeah, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. And we've got our producer back here, Marcus.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, Marcus?
I'm doing
good. He just woke up.
Yeah.
2 seconds ago.
Literally just.
He was sleeping on a futon.
I don't know if Marcus ever sleeps.
You think he's a night guy? He goes like midnight to 7 a.m. and then sleeps a little bit and then comes in later?
I'm trying to get the brunch, guys.
You got to get that brunch.
I get emails from him at like 3 in the morning.
Oh.
So, like, I don't think he ever
He's
sleeps.
One of those guys.
He's like the bionic man.
Something's wrong with him.
Yeah.
It helps that he's young.
Yeah.
You know?
That helps.
Like at 9:30, my clock's like, hey, dumbass.
10 years ago, I might have been able to do some 3 a.m.
10?
stuff. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'll give you 10.
Yeah.
I'll give you
12.
10. I'll give you 10. Oh, man. Ugh.
All right. This show is based off of 6 core adversities that you're going to need to overcome in order to be successful with your business venture. We're always going to kind of go over these 6 core adversities at the beginning of every show. So, Dave, why don't you share with them what those 6 core adversities are?
The preparation adversities, the first 3 adversities. 1, personal finance preparation. That was episode 1 and 2.
Yep.
Go back if you're just now jumping in. Number 2, business finance prep. That was just 1 episode, episode 3. A lot of great stuff in there.
Yep.
And now we're on systems preparation, which is the third preparation step.
Mm-hmm.
The third preparation adversity.
Yep.
And we are on the 2nd episode of that.
Yeah.
So we're on episode 5 because there's so much stuff in that.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll be getting into the beginning adversities. After you've done all your prep and you're ready to go, then we're going to jump into those. And I'll go over them just real quick. Community involvement work, number 5. 6, wake up, do the work, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, that was 5, not 6. And 6 is evaluate performance, make adjustments, and improve.
Yep. So basically those core adversities are divided up into 2 groups. You have your preparation adversities, and then you have your beginning adversities. And we want you to work on those 2 groups of adversities separately from each other. And the reason why is if you're trying to work on beginning adversities before you've done all the preparation work, you're going to fail. So get all the preparation work done, start your business, and then be mindful of the adversities that you're going to need to face very early on in your business. And if you face those and overcome those early on, and you know what they are, you're on a good path for success.
Yeah, and today we just said we're on the 3rd. Well, that's systems prep. Well, that's not really a breakdown because we're on the 2nd one of systems prep. And that's going to be QuickBooks, banking, accounting, behaving like a customer.
Right.
And Mitch is going to start reading those off here.
Yeah.
We're going to jump right into it today.
Yeah, we're gonna jump right in. So today's episode is going to be over QuickBooks and banking. They kind of go hand in hand. And then we're going to cover some accounting, and then we're also going to talk about how to behave like the customer you want for your business. So first up on the docket today is QuickBooks and bookkeeping. I say QuickBooks. This could really apply to anything. There's a bunch of different bookkeeping softwares out there.
Yeah, you don't have to be in QuickBooks.
No. I say QuickBooks because we use QuickBooks Online, so it's just the
Yeah.
only word that comes to mind for
Yeah,
me.
I used Peachtree Accounting.
Right.
Always did.
you've
I
got-
mean, and it's a lot harder to use than QuickBooks. QuickBooks is more beginner user friendly.
Yeah.
But I just had access to a free copy.
Yep.
So when I was outlining, how much money am I going to spend? I was like, oh, well, I could save some serious money right here.
Right.
So I'll just learn to use that.
Yeah.
But, and there could be other ones that people use too.
Yeah. And
There's a lot of free ones out there now.
with the benefits of modern technology today and everything being cloud-based, a lot of this stuff has gotten cheaper over the years.
Oh, a lot cheaper than it used to be.
So accounting software used to be really expensive, and right now I'm paying $35 a month for my bookkeeping software.
It's
So
super cheap.
It's not bad.
And it's reliable at that price.
Yeah, very reliable. So QuickBooks or any other accounting software is a vital piece to the new business puzzle. Without a smooth operating bookkeeping system, your business will fail. QuickBooks is one of the most popular bookkeeping systems out there, and your accountant will appreciate you using QuickBooks or anything similar. Your CRM, as we talked about in the last episode, the software that manages all of your scheduling and all of your invoices and everything else, your CRM should be exporting to your accounting software. They should talk to each other. All of the great ones do. So if yours that you're looking at doesn't, then immediately move to a different one.
Go to something else.
Yeah.
It's a huge time saver, problem saver. I mean, when that stuff works flawlessly together, it just makes a huge difference. Makes your personal life a lot easier.
Yeah. So your workflow, once you're up and running, your workflow is going to go something like this. Your phone rings and you book a call or book a client into your CRM system, your customer relationship management system. Then you're going to run that call or perform that repair or take care of that customer, whatever your business is. For me, I was running service calls, but you might be cutting that person's hair or mowing their lawn or whatever. You're going to perform the task that they scheduled you to do. And when you do that, you're going to generate revenue, right? You're not doing this for free. They're going to pay you. Now you've just created a taxable event. You've brought in money. Your CRM will export that financial piece of information to QuickBooks. Now, QuickBooks, guided by a good bookkeeper, will take that information and put it into what will eventually become clear financials for your accountant to file for your taxes.
And bookkeeper, people think bookkeeper and accountant are the same.
No.
Those are two completely different things.
Yeah.
Bookkeeper works for you. They're organizing all of those things.
Yeah.
And then getting them to the accountant.
Yeah, so a bookkeeper kind of organizes everything for the accountant, and your accountant is specifically working between you and the IRS to make clear and concise accounting principles so that you're paying the right amount of taxes. You're not overpaying,
Yes.
but you're not underpaying, and you're not going to get your ass handed to you in an audit.
Yeah, and so if you're doing your bookkeeping and you're nervous about it, don't be, because your accountant is the filter.
Yeah.
Before it gets to the IRS, and he or she is going to straighten you out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long, so don't be afraid. It doesn't take long to kind of get your feet underneath you as you're going.
So like with QuickBooks, I don't know about the others because all of my experience is with QuickBooks. With QuickBooks, every time we do any kind of a transaction, we can code that transaction to put it into whatever bucket it needs to go in. Yeah. But
Peachtree's the same.
let's say it's a new code or a new transaction that we've never done before, and we don't really know what to call this thing, right? Well, we can code it. Ask your accountant. And my accountant also has access to my QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And so he can see all those, and then he'll call us up and he'll say, oh, yeah, when you come across this again, it just needs to go here, or it needs to go here. So your accountant will help you. A good accountant will help you with your QuickBooks.
And he has his own system.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he has certain things that he likes to see.
Yeah.
And so that's why you work so closely with them.
Right.
And then and you do kind of what he says on those things, because when he sees it, it's just boom.
Yeah.
I know where that's at. I know where that's going. Down the road we go. And that saves, depending on how they're billing you, that can save you money.
Yeah. So we're going to get into accounting here in a little bit. We're going to stay on the bookkeeping side of things for now. So,
but, you say that all of these things work interflow between each other.
Yeah, and that's why they're all in the same episode,
Exactly.
because they do bounce off of each other greatly. So,
Yes.
QuickBooks is incredibly easy to use, and it's something that you can do yourself, or if you, it's something that you can do yourself, especially if you have an accountant that's willing to help you out early on. They will help kind of get you up to speed. Eventually, on a long enough timeline, QuickBooks can almost become somewhat automatic. For instance,
especially if you're not branching out into other things and
Yeah.
you're staying in your lane,
it
will almost automatically do it for you.
So like every time you make a purchase, that has to get coded in QuickBooks. Every time you spend any kind of money, that has to get coded in QuickBooks. Every time you bring in revenue, that has to get coded in
Yes.
QuickBooks. And you have to file it away as to what was this purchase. Was it material? Was it labor? Was it a contractor? Was it taxes? Was it vehicle interest? Was it vehicle principal on a loan?
Was it client and customer meals?
Yeah.
You took somebody, a big customer out for dinner.
Right,
and,
right.
And you have all of those things. The reason they have to be coded differently is because they have different tax implications.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's why there are those groups.
Yeah.
And then he knows, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to put it over here in this. And I'm going to take this and this, and all those intercross and get you into different tax liabilities.
Yeah, so like at the date we're filming this show, meals and entertainment, meals are deductible at 50%. Entertainment is not deductible at all.
No.
But
When I first started, it was.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could take them, and when I say entertainment, you could take them to, like, for your Christmas party this year, you took all the guys to
the Trans-Siberian
yeah.
Orchestra concert.
So you used to be able to, that was part of a tax deduction.
Yeah.
But at this time, it's not.
Right. Now the business can still pay for it. It just
Yeah,
does
of
not
course.
lower your tax liability.
No. You're
So-
paying taxes on the money you spent to do that.
Yeah, and so that hits a certain line in your QuickBooks to say this is entertainment, and so that way it separates that out and it's not a tax liability.
Yeah. And we're not trying to bore you here, but it's important.
Yeah. If this seems a little too daunting for you, bookkeepers are not that expensive, and they're worth their weight in gold. So don't be hesitant at all if you need to hire a bookkeeper.
A good one.
Yeah, a good one.
Don't hire your buddy.
Vet them out really well.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Bookkeepers will have access to your QuickBooks, and they'll help you kind of get all of that stuff organized. So it just kind of depends on how familiar and how adventurous you are in that area. So keep that in mind. When I started my business, we were spending $250 a month for both my CRM and my QuickBooks. So that $250 was incredibly valuable compared to the stress and strife that comes with trying to do all that stuff manually. I can't imagine trying to keep a manual schedule and trying to keep manual invoices and then prepare all those books and everything manually. That's just crazy. So to me, the $250 was a drop in the bucket. And this is an area where you're going to want to balance uptime versus downtime. Uptime is time where you're making money in your business. Downtime is time where you're working on the business and doing all of the back end stuff that the business has to do to stay legal and has to do to stay above board, but it doesn't make you any money. And so you need to find that balance. And for me, our uptime is incredibly profitable. And our downtime is nothing. And so we're losing a lot of profit during the downtime. So for me, it made sense for me to have a high quality CRM, to have a great bookkeeping system, and to have an accountant that was awesome as well. So,
Yeah, in layman's terms, it frees you up to do what you do.
yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't include you in this group, but a lot of people want to just do the work, and they love doing that.
Right.
And so it benefits them. I mean, just to have, even if you had to have one or two people, for those people to be doing that job frees them up, not just time-wise, but mentally.
Yeah.
To just go get it.
Well, and it frees you up to spend more time with your family. You know, a lot of people start
Yes,
in business
they
and then they fail early on, or they choose to close it up because they I was working 40 hours a week, and then I was working another 20 or 30 hours a week at night just doing the books.
It's
right?
tough. It's tough working 8 or 10 hours and then going home and doing 4 hours of bookkeeping.
Right.
So-
So, but it's easy to pay your bookkeeper $500 a month Because keep in mind, your bookkeeper's doing books for like
Yeah, they can be doing it for a lot of guys.
a lot of businesses,
Yeah,
right?
they don't work for you solely.
Right.
They're
a
more
contractor.
They're a 1099 employee.
Yeah,
basically is how that works.
So they're doing your books and they're doing 20 other companies' books, and so I mean, even if you're paying them $500 a month,
Yeah,
that is $500 a month worth its weight in gold, because now you just freed up 3 or 4 hours a night to spend time with your family.
yeah, and you're thinking, oh man, they're not doing that. They're not going to work for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. But guess what? It takes them 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What
What takes you 3 or 4 hours a night takes them 20 minutes.
Yeah, they're like, oh, click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Done.
It's the same in my field. I'm a plumber. I can go do a plumbing repair in an hour that would have taken a customer 7 or 8 hours and 14 trips to Home Depot to do.
Man, yeah.
So, and they would still do it wrong, much like you might in your QuickBooks.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
It's worth, if you're unfamiliar in that territory and you're not willing to embark on that journey, just budget in a bookkeeper.
And let's say let's go the other way. Say you're only doing $60,000 a year, and you like doing that stuff and getting in there.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to do it.
No.
Like we talked about earlier, that accountant is the filter between you.
Yeah.
If you think you can do it and you have the time to do it,
Yep.
do it. But if you don't and it's wearing you thin, pay the bookkeeper.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough that my wife, my wife was not working before I started and I got to preface this. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. She works harder than I do. Okay. We get that out in the open.
Okay.
Yeah. But my wife was doing all of this for me. So my wife has this gift where she can get into any computer system and very quickly understand how it works at a very high level. And it doesn't matter what the computer system it was. So
some people are just good at that.
Yeah, that's like her niche.
Yeah.
Every job she's ever held, she would very quickly understand how the computer system works. So she very quickly understood how our CRM works. She knows how our CRM works better than I do, because I'm out there doing plumbing, and
That's
she's
okay.
Yeah. And she understands how QuickBooks works.
Know your role.
Right.
Right. Know your
role. My wife was able to do all of our bookkeeping for us, so that helped me out a little bit. But for you, it may be different. So next up on the docket is going to be banking. This is, you wouldn't think that there's much to talk about with banking. And there's not a ton, but what there is to talk about with it
There's a few important points about it.
Yeah, what there is to talk about is very, very important. Something so simple can make your business life easier if you make sure your bank has a few features. So make sure your business bank is completely separated from your personal bank. Not just different accounts either. Different banks. Completely different banking institutions. You want complete separation between personal and financial, okay? This literally creates a physical separation between your personal finances and your business finances.
Even if it's just for when you look at the checks, one check's different than the other check.
Right.
That can help you a lot.
I've had friends. I'm just going to name drop U.S. Bank that's where we have our personal banking. So I'm just going to name drop U.S. Bank. I've had friends that have like their personal and business accounts at U.S. Bank, and they're accidentally using the wrong card for purchases. They bought groceries and they accidentally used their business card, or they took a client out to lunch and they accidentally used their personal card.
Yeah.
Going to ask why.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
So like
I could see the mistake happen. I didn't know if it was like a psychological thing or something.
Here's what's funny.
Now listen, I'm gonna just say right now, I use the same bank and I always have, but they are not only are they different accounts, but they're different cards.
Yeah.
So like the card comes from their commercial side.
Right.
And I have a really small bank, so it's a lot different than using like a Community America or something like that. And in the beginning, I did screw up, just like you're talking about. And then I had to learn, okay, I need to have discipline with that.
Yep.
And so, now it's two different cards and all, and I've never had that happen again. But if you're just getting into business and you're doing a lot of work, it is easier on you to just have them separated. And
it's really easy to screw up too. So
it is. I'm very detail oriented,
right.
And I did it the first year.
Right. So like for me, how I keep all this stuff organized. Here's my money.
Shit, we got money.
Oh,
what do we got?
We got some money out here.
A 50. Ooh, baller.
So here's my money clip, and what we've got on here is on one side is my personal bank, on the other side is my business bank. So I keep them completely separated on the other side of that, and that way we are we're separated. So I can immediately know, okay, my cards look different, and it keeps all of that separated, so I'm not out there making that mistake.
And it's easier to hide a bank account from your wife later.
Stop that.
You didn't have any personal numbers and stuff on that card, did you?
Good.
Nah,
we're good.
Let them use it. Slow-mo, freeze frame, take that out of there.
Yeah, no, we're good.
And then send me something.
Nothing
I'll hold up a little thing later with my address on it.
Nothing on that. All the numbers are on the backs of cards nowadays.
He's trying to make the post editing a little difficult.
No. We're good. We're good.
Well, you got to do something between naps.
Complete separation between personal and business finances is key. Okay. Another thing that you're looking for is you want to make sure that you're using a bank that will connect with QuickBooks. So if you're in a tiny small town and you're using, Jim's National Bank down on Main Street in your town of 200 people, if Jim's National Bank does not have internet connectivity through their banking in QuickBooks, I'm sorry, Jim, but you're not going to get the banking business. You need your bank to talk to QuickBooks. And so like we use QuickBooks Online. At any time, I can log into my bank and it'll tell me what my balances are, or I can log into QuickBooks and it'll tell me what my bank balances are because they connect to each other.
Yeah. And if you and it's easier now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Because now everything, if you can take a picture of a check and send it to your bank account. So don't feel like it has to be right down the road, because hopefully you're not going there all the time.
Right.
And if it's 20 minutes away, it's probably worth it. I shouldn't say it's probably. It's definitely worth it to have all that stuff work together.
And you just brought up a good point that's not in our notes. Make sure your business bank will do mobile deposits as well.
Yeah.
So because a lot of customers are going to pay you with a check, and
you want to make sure that check goes through.
Well, and having to drive to the bank every day is kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah. So
if you could do it once a week, like say you do accept checks, or maybe she goes on, so you're working on Saturdays too, maybe she goes or he goes on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Right.
Two trips.
But
you can hold those checks. Holding a check for 3 days, that's not a big deal. Holding it for 7,
and depending on the amount too.
Yeah.
So when we
do,
if
it's a $5,000 check.
Yeah. When we do a large job, I'm wanting to get that check in the bank quickly, because typically there's a lot of material cost associated with that job. So I'm wanting that money in the bank. To pay for that material.
And now listen, and we're not telling you exactly what to do, but as you get bigger, you can take on more of those overhead costs and cushion those for a few days.
Yep.
So it's not a big, but when you first start out, like you just said, if you're in week 2 and you just spent $2,300 on
material,
a septic tank or, PVC pipe, I'm not a plumber, so I'm just, but you don't want to have to be holding on to that. You want to be able to get that check in.
Right. So mobile deposit is key. They're going to have kind of a limit on it, and it's like a rolling limit.
Yeah, it's a rolling limit. Most of the good banks are.
Yeah. We use mobile deposit a lot, and that helps a ton. And this is kind of funny. So we do our bookkeeping, and we are 100% above board. We all know those people that will take, like if a customer pays in cash, all of a sudden that invoice disappears from their CRM, that invoice disappears from QuickBooks, and the cash goes into the business's pocket, never to be talked about again.
It doesn't go into the business's pocket.
It goes into the owner's pocket.
The owner's pocket.
Right. We don't do that. And so much so.
When you said above the board, that's what he means by that. He means, this is the line of honesty.
Ethical and honesty.
This is the line of
dishonest.
Under the line of I'm keeping the cash.
Right.
F the rest of you.
So
that's what he means by that.
Yeah. And so what I take it so far that if a customer says, is there a cash discount? I actually reply with, we don't have a cash discount, but we've actually thought about charging more for cash, because when you pay me with cash, I have to drive to the bank to deposit that. Whereas if you pay me with a card, it goes in the bank automatically. And if you pay me with a check, I can mobile deposit that check. Yeah.
So half of the people listening just went, you jackass.
Right.
And listen, we're trying to teach you to be upstanding in your community.
Yep.
We're not going to tell you you're a bad person if you take cash, okay? Because guys do it.
Yeah.
All right. We're not downing you one way or the other.
So
we're just trying to. Those are our principles here, and so we're saying, hey.
Yep.
That's what we do. You need to just keep after it.
We it's funny. Last week, I was reading a story on Facebook on one of the plumbing groups I'm in, and this guy was griping. Like, he was trying to get sympathy. This Facebook group has like 30,000 members, and he's trying to get sympathy because the IRS just froze all of his bank accounts and seized his life savings. And he's trying to act like they're out of line for doing it. And it was nothing. More people are above board than not. It was nothing but comment after comment after comment of, dude, at the point they're seizing your bank account,
you've been doing it a long time, bro.
And
you didn't take $100 a week for 2 years. You took serious money.
They seized $40,000.
Yeah.
So
he was taking some serious money.
Yeah, and you're never gonna, like, we all have that uncle who's been like trying to scam the government and trying to underpay his taxes and all of that stuff. Well, guess what? Sometimes that uncle ends up in prison.
Yeah,
it just happens.
And let's talk about it just for a second, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I hate the government. I think they're a bunch of greedy losers, and they're not good. They're not good with the money we give them.
Yeah.
But there are legal ways to keep money.
Yeah.
Okay? And
that's where your accountant comes in.
And we're going to talk about that next.
Yep.
If you have a good accountant, he's going to say, hey, if you bought another vehicle here.
Right.
I think it was last year. It may be now too. That's 100% tax deduction.
Right.
Maybe he's like, listen, maybe you ought to just do that and keep that money and then use that vehicle to make more money.
Yeah. And
so, we're not pro government. We're not pro, hey, everybody pay more taxes than you should.
No, I'm not encouraging people to go out there.
But
and
you
pay
have
as
to
much
do it the
taxes
legal
as they
way,
can.
because it could bite you in the ass down the road.
We run our business so above board that I'm like, it sounds silly to say, I'm looking forward to an audit, because what's going to happen is they're going to audit us and they're going to realize we got nothing.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, we're never auditing them again.
That's not how it works.
I know. Typically, when you get one, you get a bunch of follow-ups later, because they think they're trying to catch
you go from red flag,
right?
Even though, and then you prove, then you just go to yellow flag.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, he's already at this level. They don't drop you all the way down. They keep you right middle of the road. So, but as long as you stay on that track, then every time they come, you can just be like,
right. Here's the thing though, when it comes to taxes and all of that stuff. A lot of people have this misconception that, when you want to be in business, you want to pay as little taxes as possible. Well, the only way to pay as little taxes as possible is to show as little profit as possible. Well, you're never going to grow your business if you're showing as little profit as possible.
But there are ways to do that where you can use that profit and not pay taxes on that profit to grow your business. And that's why those are there.
Yeah.
Because they actually want you to grow your business, because then you make more money and then you give them more money.
Right.
You just have to be spending that money honestly in ways to do that.
Right.
So that they're not on you.
Yeah. So in previous episodes, we kind of talked about, I call them boomerang businessmen or businesswomen, where they start a business for themselves and then they come back out and they are, a year later, they're like, I had to shut it down. It was too much. I was working 80 hours a week. Or they come up with some random excuse on why they had to shut it down. And after about 5 minutes of talking to them, you can learn real quick that they don't really even know why they had to shut it down. And it's usually because they did not have some of these processes in place, but it's also because they are they're too busy trying to scheme and skim all of their taxes and not focused enough on just make some freaking money. Make enough money to pay for the taxes. So rather than focus myself on trying to go down my tax bracket by a couple of points, I'm like, let's make a couple extra 20 or 30 grand
and pay for that,
and then just pay for it, and then I'm money ahead.
And not everybody, some people, and we've talked about this in the previous episodes. Some people, they jump into business and then they realize, you know what, this wasn't for me.
Right.
And they go back. That's not who he means by boomerang, jumping back and forth. That's just, sometimes it's not for you.
Yeah.
And that's not everybody.
So as you're doing this and you're going to be getting advice from people, do not take advice from people who have failed at business. I understand there's a lot that we can learn from failure. However, you want to be taking advice from people who are where you want to be. You don't want to be taking advice from people who never made it to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be taking advice from that guy that was like, I was working, 10-hour days and then 4 hours of bookkeeping at night, and then the taxes were just crazy, and then payroll, and then my vendors were just coming after me for money and all. Like, you need to separate yourself away from that dude hard, because he's not helping you out at all.
Yeah, and when we say, take advice, you're not necessarily sitting down with them taking advice, but you may just be watching them.
Right.
And if you watch a guy and he's struggling all the time and you're, oh, this guy's doing this and, he can't do this, maybe just realize, oh, if I do it, I'm not going to do it that way.
Right.
That's taking advice.
Yeah. Let's flip over to accounting here. Accounting, again, second step of bookkeeping, right? Bookkeeping is monitoring your books day to day. Accounting is taking those and preparing them into good financials for taxes. You are the master of your craft, okay? Whether it's lawn mowing, hair cutting, plumbing, electrical, doesn't matter. You're the master of that craft. Much like your customers leave your mastery and your skill set to you, you need to leave the accounting to the professionals as well. Your accountant is your financial cheerleader. If you keep giving them something to cheer about, they can be one of your biggest motivators. So search for an accountant who specializes in emerging small businesses, okay? Find one that helps get businesses off the ground. There's a big difference between accounting for a small business in its early years versus accounting for bigger business in their later years of existence. I was fortunate enough to experience both within my first 3 months of business. I started with an accountant who came highly referred from some other small business owner friends, and I ended up firing them 2 months in. And this, when I say firing them, there's not necessarily any hard feelings here. Things seemed okay when we opened our doors, but when I would ask them questions, I started getting some seemingly dodgy answers and just not real clear responses to when I was asking them questions. I had a goal in mind. When we opened our doors, I wanted to pay our startup costs off in 3 months. As I mentioned in previous episodes, it took me $30,000 to start our company. I wanted to pay that off in 3 months, and I was willing to pay myself as little as possible as long as I could pay those startup costs off in 3 months.
And you were able to do that because you had done the preparation steps.
Right.
And you had set aside money for, okay, I may not get a check for 3 months.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when you did make the money, you had the money to get through, so you were able to spend the business money on paying those debts.
Right, paying the startup costs off. Now, so I wanted to pay those startup costs off in 3 months. It's $30,000, so that's $10,000 a month that the business account needed to grow so that I could achieve my goal at the end of 3 months.
Not gross income.
No.
But it needed that.
The net money in the account at the end of the month, right? So 1 month in, our bank account's got an extra 10 grand in it.
You're like, yeah,
and I'm
here
like,
we go,
sweet,
baby.
We're 1/3 of the way there and we're 1 month in. This is awesome. And so I sent a message to my accountant, and the messages that I got back were kind of humbling. They were like, well, you make sure you're not overworking yourself, make sure you're not working too hard, don't get burned out, and make sure you're paying yourself fairly and all this stuff. Okay, whatever. 2 months in, now we have 20 grand in the bank, and again, I'm not paying myself very much at all.
I haven't heard this story.
Yeah.
I'm into it here.
And so now we've got 20 grand in the bank, and again, I'm not paying myself very much. And so I send a message to the accountant again, and I'm assuming she's like keeping an eye on this on our QuickBooks.
Yeah.
But
maybe she wasn't.
Maybe, I don't know. But again, I was met with, okay, but you're still not paying yourself very much, and don't burn yourself out, and nobody pays off their business startup costs in 3 months, so don't get your hopes up. You never know what the future is going to hold and all this stuff. And I made the decision right then and there that this is not the accountant for me. I've got very specific financial goals that I want to meet, and if my accountant's not on board with that, and if they're trying to pull me down away from that, I need a different accountant.
Let me play devil's advocate just for a second to give people maybe a little perspective. Maybe she was used, I don't know if it was a he or she, was used to dealing with lower end businesses. Maybe those guys failed a lot, and maybe she had seen things, and maybe she was actually, like we've talked about before, was coming from a place of, I'm concerned about
coming
you.
from a place of empathy, right?
Yeah,
right.
And maybe she just, and accountants are like everybody else.
They got different personalities.
And there are different levels of accountants. There are accountants that have been in business 20 years and they couldn't go to a bank and do their accounting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're in this is their level. And that's okay. That's their wheelhouse. You need to find somebody that is at your level and is used to dealing with things at that level. You may grow out of, they may come to you one day and be like, dude, you're getting to the
You're
point,
out of my wheelhouse.
You're getting to the point where I can't do it.
Yeah.
Or I've got to pay 4 people to help me. We need to come together and maybe find you somebody else.
Yeah.
And a good stand-up accountant is going to do that.
Yeah. So, and again, there's no ill will on this accountant. I don't dislike them or anything else. And looking back on it now, they came to me through a referral from my friends and that were business owners, and looking at my friends' businesses
it wasn't
that
me,
they
was
own.
it?
No.
Okay.
Looking at my friends' businesses that they own, they are different styles of business. They're not as fast-paced as mine, and they may not have the margins that mine did. And so that may have been, again, unknowingly, that may have been why this accountant didn't work very well, is because they were unfamiliar with the types of margins that we work with in our business. But nonetheless, I had already been introduced to a different accountant previously, and so I called up that accountant and started talking with him, and he's still my accountant today. He checked out all of our financials. I met with him for like 3.5 hours.
Started going over numbers.
Just started going over everything and everything else, and he was like, "This is awesome." He's like, "You're gonna do great." He's like, "You're already on pace to pay off everything in 3 months, and you're gonna do it. And I know you're gonna do it. And this is really freaking cool."
Yeah,
and
it's nice having cheerleaders, man.
Yeah. So that day I flipped everything over to him, and lo and behold, 1 month later, we had $35,000 in our business bank account.
Paid those loans off.
And so I paid. I
should say loans.
It wasn't. I mean,
you know what I mean.
I borrowed the money for myself personally,
yes.
right? So
it's a personal loan.
I paid myself back.
Yeah.
And now the business is off and running and freestanding on its own.
On its own.
It had the only debt the business had was a vehicle payment on a truck, and that was it. So that was a very, very relieving feeling. Because now the business is substantiated, it's on its own, and it is its own entity that's not supported by any other finances. So look what happened, though, when I switched accountants. I went from $10,000 a month on my first month, $10,000 on my second month. Once I had a financial cheerleader in my corner and an accountant, we did $15,000 in additional.
You're not saying that's directly related, but part of that positive motivation could have been some of the driving force to get you there.
Yeah.
And that's, people talk all the time about, think about it and it'll happen. Well, if you have someone in your corner, that's just extra motivation all the time. They're just the power of positive perspective is a huge thing.
Well, what happens if you don't have a good accountant in your corner is you can somewhat get to the point of, why am I even doing this? All this money just goes to cover taxes and all this stuff. Well, when you have the right accountant in your corner and they're kind of telling you the moment, so I look at it like a teeter-totter scale. The moment we break X amount of revenue a month, everything else from that, our profit just starts climbing because we've already covered all of our costs.
Yeah.
When you have an accountant that talks to you in that language, it helps out tremendously.
Yeah. Perspective is a great thing.
Yeah. So
and that's why we also, just real quick, that's why you need to vet people.
Yeah.
And you said that was a recommendation, but just because you get 3 recommendations doesn't mean you shouldn't vet them.
Yeah.
And sit down and talk with them and try, and look, we all make mistakes, but just try to do as much research as you can so that you are as prepared as you can be.
Yeah.
When you hire someone like that.
And I don't regret my first 2 months with the other accountant at all, because
it taught you.
It taught me, and I now value my current accountant twice as much as I would have before, because I've seen it firsthand the other way.
Yeah.
So, moral of that story is your accountant has a key impact on the success or failure of your business. And if you have bad feelings about your accountant, you're probably right.
And there's nothing wrong with, if you do have an accountant and you're not sure, going to someone else and saying, hey, would you give me a second opinion on this?
Yeah.
You cannot, when you're in business for yourself, you cannot be afraid of anything. You can't be afraid of, and some of these are just going to be examples. You can't be afraid of firing somebody. Yep. You can't be afraid of looking outside your own comfort zone and saying, hey, maybe I need to do different. Maybe I need to, change things up a little bit. And we're going to talk about later, constantly evaluating your situation.
Yep.
And this is one of those situations that you can evaluate before you even get into business.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to beat that horse to death, but it's very, very important.
Yep. Last thing we're going to talk about today is behaving like the customers that you want for your very own business. When you think about your future customers, what do you think? How do you want them to treat you? How do you want them to act? I'm betting that you probably want trustworthy customers who value your skill set and your expertise. I'm guessing that you would rather have customers who trust you to proceed with your suggestions without going and getting 5 to 7 other bids and pitting their bids against yours. We've all lost work to the lowest bidder. And if you're good at what you do, it hurts when you lose work to the lowest bidder. The reason it hurts is because you know how well you can solve their problem, and you know that lowest bidder is probably not going to solve your customer's problem. And so it hurts you to lose the work, but it also hurts you because you know your customer is probably going to have a less than perfect experience with that lowest bid. So as you're going through business, are you setting the example of being the customer that you want for your business? All too often I see people start a business and they learn very quickly that they need to outsource certain things like accounting and printing and embroidery and uniforms and graphic designs and material suppliers and vehicle repair and all of the things that it takes to run a business. For your business to be successful, you use your time and talents and resources. You use the time and talents and resources of others to help you. Now you are becoming a customer of theirs. So here's your chance to become the customer that you wish to have for your business. Okay? Do your research on who you want to work with. Trust your own research. And then lay out expectations and desires and let them put together a price. Agree to that price on the spot with no pushback. Do not ask them for a discount. And then once you're done, inspect the work and provide timely and direct feedback. That's exactly how what you want your customers to behave for you. So you need to behave that way for your customers. My point is you know exactly what a perfect customer looks like to you. So make sure that your business is a perfect customer for others as often as it can be. Do this in your personal life too. When you go out to eat and you have or you have any service performed on your home or your car, practice the same process of trusting your research, laying out expectations, and then letting them work and agreeing to their price. Do not ask for discounts. Once satisfied, provide timely feedback, leave a 5-star review. It feels good to be a great customer. And the more you practice being a great customer, the better you'll understand how to create the experiences that result in your business having great customers as well.
I think there's some good points in there. At the beginning, you were talking about, if you lose a customer to a lower bid,
mm-hmm.
If you do that, a lot of times, even if that customer gets something faulty and it's not real great and they're thinking, man, I wish I would have paid Smedley Plumbing, they're probably not going to call you.
Yeah, they're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed. They're ashamed isn't probably that's kind of a strong word, but they're just like, man, they regret, what they did. They're not going to call you.
Right.
Now, some of them will. Some of them will call. I've had guys call me and say, dude, hey, man, I know I had you out. I didn't replace that unit. I replaced the compressor instead. This guy came out, put it in, and we're down again.
Right.
And then just as an example, I went out there on one, and so he had changed the compressor instead of the unit, and I gave him a price to change the compressor too, but it was high,
mm-hmm.
And he was he didn't want to pay that, so he got somebody else to do it. And I go out there. Well, he had changed the compressor out, and he had done a nice job. He didn't change the capacitor to the correct size that compressor needed. Capacitor was out.
Great work, wrong repair.
Is that a huge deal? No. Back then, it was flat price. It was only $200. I charged the guy $200. He was happy to pay it.
Right.
But that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
And then, but from then on, I had his service.
Yeah. Customer for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just, it's one of those things. Sometimes those things are tough to deal with from a mental standpoint on your own. Oh man, and when you're first starting out, you feel real down.
Yep.
Don't feel down.
Right.
Just make an adjustment.
Yep.
An evaluation, and do what you got to do, to move on from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you guys a quick story about a place that I used to work. This was a medium to large size plumbing, heating, cooling company, and they had a very nice facility. And they were always, I was a manager at this place, and the ownership and the GMs, they were always pushing for us to be the most professional customers out there. We are the best, highest service, best service, most professional, and our customers need to be okay paying our price because they will not get better service than anywhere, they'll get better service from us than anywhere else.
Were they providing that service? Were they doing they were preaching it, and then for the most part, those guys were doing that?
For the most part, they were delivering on it. Every once in a while.
Okay, so they were bought in. The employees
the employees were bought in, right?
Okay, that was my point there.
One of the things though is the employees, their buy-in was not very durable. It didn't last. It wasn't everlasting, right? And here's why.
And that's why they had to constantly be beating it into them.
They're constantly beating it into them, and there's a little bit of turnover going on there, and so that means they're having to beat it into the new people.
Yeah.
You got to start over.
That's
right?
tough, man. High turnover companies are tough to work at.
One of the things that I was able to recognize, so this place had an elevator. Okay, it was a 2-story building and had an elevator in it.
I haven't heard this story either.
Yeah.
Learning a lot about Mitch today.
So this place has an elevator in it, and this elevator had a problem. It's only going up one floor, and I don't know why, but it took 30 seconds for this thing to go from first floor to second floor. Okay, so it's like world's slowest elevator. Halfway up, this elevator had this hiccup in it to where it would drop 6 or 8 inches and then just keep going like nothing ever happened.
Whoop, up.
Well,
I think the downtown courthouse one does that too.
Maybe. It's a
janky old turd.
This thing was scary. It would literally scare the crap out of you. If you were holding a coffee cup, you'd probably spill it.
Were there customers ever in those?
No, it's just employees.
Just employees? Okay.
Yep. But as your employees, it's kind of scary to be let me go take the elevator to the second floor, and boom, and this thing slams
taking the
around
stairs
on you,
a little more than you thought.
So, for one, they were really slow to fix this elevator. Well, it's fine. It hadn't hurt anybody, and all this stuff.
Hurt anybody.
That's not the message you want to be sending to your people, right? We're professional, but we're okay with a subpar elevator, right? Well, then they're finally and they're trying to celebrate this. They bring out an elevator repair company, okay, and so we're all kind of oh, great, they're finally fixing that freaking elevator. This elevator repair company, they may have been called Skeeter's Elevator Repair. Guy shows up in a truck that's got rusted out fender wells.
Sketchy.com.
Paperwork piled up on the dash, everything you don't want to see.
Yeah.
And this guy's wearing jeans and a no-name T-shirt, and he starts working on this elevator. And
he's got 4 tools in his back pocket.
Who knows? Well, anyway, he gets all done and he leaves. Guess what? Elevator's still bouncing and slamming around, right? 3 or 4 visits later, they keep going back to Skeeter, and Skeeter keeps giving them subpar work. And so what's the message that they're sending to their entire organization? We want we want you guys to be the professionals, and we want our customers to be okay.
Who we hire.
Right. We don't care who we hire. We want professional on this hand,
sketchy.
But we want cheap and unreliable on this hand.
Yeah.
You can't go that route, right?
And then your employees are obviously thinking, dude, why would I want to be up here when you guys aren't even...
Right.
Lead by example is a huge thing.
Full story. I ended up leaving that organization. I left on great terms, by the way. Great company. I'm not going to name who they are because it doesn't matter. Great company, okay? Every company is going to make mistakes. This was just one of theirs. I ended up leaving that organization, but in the few weeks right there before I left, they finally got the message.
Oh, they get somebody good out there?
They got the company that works on elevators in the high rises downtown. Legitimate company, right? Now, here's the cool thing. They show up in newer vehicles that are clearly marked, very clean, and they put these, this is how you know they're a great company. They come up and they've got these guards that they set up around all of the elevator doors to let everybody know we're working on this.
Yeah.
And the whole time Skeeter was out there,
it's just people are out there pushing.
They're pushing buttons and it ain't working, right?
Oh man, stairs.
And so these guys were legit. And to full disclosure,
Did you know
I have no
they
clue.
cost them?
I have no clue.
Okay.
And I have no clue if they ever fixed the elevator or not.
Because
I know
left about the same time.
I left about the same time. However, they finally got the message that we can't expect our employees to deliver professional quality work unless we show our employees that
we're
we
willing
want
to pay for
professional
that.
quality work within our own business.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
Irony.
Let's talk about coffee, for examples. As we're talking about different levels of what your customer might want. There's about 1 million different ways to get a cup of coffee in this world. You could go to the grocery store and buy some Folgers and brew your own. Okay. Ironically, that's what's in my cup is some Folgers.
I love Folgers.
You could run down to Mickey D's and get a cup of coffee for $1.
Roastery. I like the roastery too.
Yeah,
I like
it's not
grinding
bad.
up my own beans.
You could do, that's the middle ground, right?
Yeah, that's good.
You could do Dunkin' Donuts and grab what they claim is high-end coffee for about $3, right?
I hate Dunkin'.
Or you could go to Starbucks and get the premium coffee that's brewed to perfection, and it's handed to you with your name written on it.
You're going to get me riled up about the stupid Starbucks people.
Your name's probably written wrong, but they're going to charge you like $7 for that coffee, right? So which customer are you after for your business? Do you want the Folgers customer, the customer
We're going to have a debate here.
going to do it for
I
themselves?
Can feel it coming.
Do you want the Mickey D's customer or do you want the Starbucks customer? Okay. Which do you think has a higher engagement level from their customers?
Well, it's definitely Starbucks.
Right. Which do you think is more likely to talk about their experience with other people?
Probably Starbucks.
Probably Starbucks.
Although I know a lot of old guys that go to McDonald's and sit in their little groups and drink their coffee.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. And then they tell me about it. They're like, "Oh, we were at McDonald's today getting that coffee for." I think if you're over 55, it's like it's
a
either
little different.
free or a quarter or something.
Yeah. So which of those customers do you think had a better experience?
Oh, definitely Starbucks.
Definitely Starbucks.
Now
right?
listen.
Well, they're saying your name wrong.
It's like when you go to a really nice restaurant and the food's a little more expensive, but the atmosphere in the restaurant is not. There's candles on the table.
Yeah.
It's real classy.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's really what he means by.
Or
going
you could go to the
Starbucks.
local grocery store and get a pound of meat and grill it up yourself,
Yeah,
right?
but then
you're eating it at your kitchen table. And
you're not getting.
You're
the
out of candles.
Yeah, and you're not
and that
getting
kid's
the
screaming in the
experience.
background.
You're getting service.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and when we're talking about service-based companies.
Right. So now, do you think Starbucks coffee costs them 7 times more to make than McDonald's coffee?
Of course not.
No, it doesn't, right? So what you're paying for is experience. Starbucks is literally charging you money out of thin air simply to deliver you an experience. And you need to be doing the same thing for your company.
And the coffee may be just a little bit better,
right?
But that's not where the money's going.
Right. The money's going to the experience. So, and part of that's why Starbucks spells your name wrong on the coffee.
You think so?
I know so, because what are you going to do? Right? You're going to tell them your name's Marcus, right? And they are going to write down MARK space us. Mark us. Right?
How does Marcus is MARCUS, right?
Right.
Marcus? Okay.
Right? But they're going to put it in 2 words. Mark us. And then and you're going to take a picture of it and you're going to share it on social media. And ironically, they write it just so the Starbucks logo's in the corner. And you're going to be like, look at these clowns at Starbucks. I told them my name's Marcus, and they wrote down Marcus.
Yeah, and in the shitty world we live in now, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
You know?
So
I'm telling you.
That's serious. Man.
Right. But
how many people look at that?
It creates an experience.
Say 25,000. Just 25,000 people saw that.
Right.
You know.
And it's not a bad experience, right?
No.
It's kind of funny.
No. It's quirky.
Right. So but that's why they do it.
Yeah.
So again, that's why they're ahead of the game.
I feel like you're gonna need a letter from Starbucks any day now.
Well, I'm not bad mouthing them.
That's true.
So and here's the crazy thing about all 3 of those customers.
Hey, maybe they'll sponsor us and get be drinking Starbucks coffee.
Here's the crazy thing about all those is the homebrew guy.
Like Dave wouldn't turn back.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I'm full ahead.
The homebrew guy, he's perfectly happy making his home coffee.
Yep.
The McDonald's guy is perfectly happy drinking McDonald's coffee. The Dunkin' Donuts guy is perfectly happy at Dunkin' Donuts, and the Starbucks. I mean, God, Starbucks has a line around the corner all the time.
Where are you going with this?
What I'm going with this is your customer is perfectly happy at whatever service you're providing. So don't feel like the only way you're going to be in the wrong here is if you're delivering McDonald's quality and charging Starbucks prices.
So you're saying there's a customer for every price point.
Yes.
Is where you're going with this.
Exactly.
Okay. I gotcha.
So
okay.
You can
You know,
charge.
I wish we would have talked about that earlier. I'd
Yeah.
have like wrote that down. But the whole time I'm thinking, he's just babbling about coffee.
No.
And no one is going to care what he's saying.
you can literally charge whatever you want as long as you're delivering the service to back it up.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
I
I like it. I think that's a good point.
got one more story for you guys before we wrap up today. I live in a house that's got 2 garage doors on it. And luckily, when we built our house about 10 or 11 years ago, my third garage, my single door, I built that garage big enough to park my plumbing service trucks in.
Not your personal business truck, but
No,
where
this-
you were working
yeah,
at the
this-
time.
I-
That you,
so
their
I start-
van they gave you.
Yeah, I started
Okay.
our business 2 years ago. So this was I was working for other people in the
And you got to
plumbing
take a truck
vans.
home.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And so I wanted to get into a warm plumbing truck every day in winter, and in a colder plumbing truck in the summer and everything else. We're in Kansas City, so winters get cold, summers
didn't
get
notice.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chiefs are playing today, by the way.
Yeah.
So, it gets cold in the winter. What's it been this week? Like 10?
In the morning,
8?
there were 2 10s and a 0 one morning.
Yeah, so like wind chill of like -15 and all that stuff. So
I mean, we're not living in Wisconsin, so it's usually short bursts.
Yeah.
But that makes it worse, I feel like,
Well,
some
yeah.
days. Like, it's supposed to be 55 next week. And
Right.
It's the end of January.
Right. And let's just be honest. If you have the means to do so, why wouldn't you park your van inside, right? So I built our garage to park inside. Well, now that I have my own company, I'm still parking my van inside, and that door is like 10 or 11 years old, that garage door. And it started sounding kind of funny and everything else. And the first thing that pops into my head is, if that door breaks, I can't get my van out and I can't make money. So that door is now all of a sudden.
And you have to reschedule calls.
Right.
It's a huge hassle.
Yeah, so now that door is like really important that it needs to operate smoothly. And so I got a friend of mine that has a garage door company. I've never had the opportunity to use a service, but everybody loves him. He's got great reviews. He's got a perfect 5.0 rating on
Well,
Google.
who is it? Drop it.
It's State Line Door and Lift, and they're in Grain Valley, Missouri.
Okay. Now listen, they didn't do
now-
it for free.
No, gosh, no.
Okay.
So, and that's part of the story.
We're not taking perks here. Not to say that we wouldn't if you want to send us something.
This is me behaving like a customer I want for my business,
Yeah.
right? So I call them up and I schedule an appointment and I say, there's nothing really wrong. It just sounds bad. And I'm worried that it's going to leave me stranded one day. So they send a guy out. First of all, they send me a text confirming of the appointment I just made with them.
Oh, good CRM software.
Good CRM.
Or they didn't. Maybe they didn't have software, but they took the time to actually text you. I have seen guys do that.
You could do that, but
yeah.
you could, for $200 a month, you could let your CRM do it
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So, in this, I've talked to
And
him.
that's just good.
It is CRM.
Good. Oh, okay. That's just good customer service
Yeah.
too.
So then, on the day of our appointment, I get another text saying my technician's getting ready to head that way, and it gives me the technician's name. Okay?
Oh, that's nice.
So that's kind of cool. I know who's coming. So he shows up, checks everything out, looks at both doors, and he says, this one door.
Did you ask him to look at the other door?
Yeah,
Or did you
yeah,
just
yeah.
look at it?
I
You
looked
said
at everything.
Look at both of them. Okay.
And my big door that my plumbing van hides behind, it was like noticeably louder than the others. And it's a big door. It's 10 feet wide and 11 feet tall. So he's like, this one we definitely need to do some work on. It's not sounding good. So he replaces all the rollers in it. He makes some adjustments to it. It was kind of sticking a little bit and kind of binding up. And it was like, I can't even remember. It was like $189 or $249 or something like that. But
that's not too bad.
it's not too bad.
That's reasonable.
The moment he got done and he hits that opener, oh my gosh, it was like
whisper quiet.
whisper quiet. And I'm like, well, that's freaking amazing. And
Do you think that was worth more than what he charged you?
I mean, it's up to them to determine their prices.
If it was like $400, would you pay that?
Knowing what you knew after.
So here's the thing. They're the experts in the door industry. I can only imagine. So I was watching him work just because I'm not the guy that like overlords on people when they're working in my house.
He's doing.
I totally admire various craftsmen, right?
Yeah.
So if I've got somebody working in my house and they're doing a craft, I watch because my dream job would be Mike Rowe with Dirty Jobs. He gets to play with all other people's crafts.
Dude, you're fucked up.
Oh, man.
I don't want to be digging around in shit. Although you do that.
That's
anyway.
what I do every day, right?
I don't. I guess
But
I just insert foot here.
I love watching this guy work, and it's not because I'm like wondering how he's doing it so I can do it myself next time or anything else. I just like watching other craftsmen do their craft, right?
See the tips and tricks.
Yeah,
live.
it's just kind of neat. And so he started replacing these rollers, and I'm like, well, that's actually kind of easy. Well, then he gets down to the bottom rollers that the chain, the cable hooks to where all the tension is, and he has to replace those completely different. And he says, well, yeah, if you do these wrong, like your door will explode. And I'm
yeah,
like,
because the
like,
tension's got to be right.
I'm going through in my head like, holy cow.
could've
I would
just-
have done that,
I'd have just
and
blown
my
up my
door would have
door.
blown up. Like, oh my gosh, right?
I'd have pulled the center panel out.
And so a couple of weeks goes by, and now it's like eating at me. My one door is so much quieter than my other door. And so I call the company back up, and they answer the phone. Hey, Mr. Smedley. And this is the owner of the company. He says, hey, Mr. Smedley. And so I'm kind of surprised. Again, good CRM software. He knows who's calling.
Good customer service.
And so I said, hey, man, I had you guys out a couple of weeks ago to fix my one door. And he goes, uh-oh. And I'm like, no, everything's good. Everything's great. It's better than great. And it's because everything's great that I want you back. I'm like, your guy said that my other door was probably okay, but he fixed my big door so well, and it's so quiet, I need him back to do the other door.
Yeah.
So he comes back, again, does the work. He gives me a price up front. I'm like, yeah, again, agree to them at their price. They are the experts on price. So
especially if you've already had one under your belt.
Right,
right.
right.
You trust them 100%.
Yeah. And so now they come back out, they do the same thing to the other door, get it all taken care of. Now both doors are whisper quiet, and it's awesome. And I've got full confidence. But that opportunity gave me a chance to be the customer that I expect for my business, right?
Yeah.
And you're damn right that I gave them a 5-star review because they earned it.
And you told me about it.
Right.
And you told your buddy about it.
Right.
And next time someone says, man, this garage door, something's going on, they may not even be asking you, and you're going to say, hey, I had these guys out. They did a great job. If you ever need somebody, and you don't even realize that you're advertising for them.
Right.
You're happy with what they did for you, and that's free advertisement for them later.
People want deserving people to succeed.
Yeah.
If your business deserves to succeed, people will help make sure that happens, right? Yeah. So, ironically, today, Chris Jones plays for the Chiefs, defensive tackle. He is one sack away from a $1.25 million bonus. If he gets one sack today.
You think he's not blitzing?
Right.
Spags is going to be like, dude, I'm sending you on every opportunity.
So what's funny is people will cheer for Chris Jones because they want him to get his $1.25 million bonus. Here's the thing.
Even if they're jealous about it. They're
Right.
still like,
They might be mildly jealous.
He's my guy. I want him to get it.
They're not paying the bonus. No. So, of course, they'll cheer him on, right? Small businesses, you asking for a discount is taking away the bonus from the small business.
Yeah.
You paying full price without asking for a discount, that gives the small business the bonus that they're looking for. That makes them deserve to get their bonus. So that's part of behaving like the customer that you want for your business. So ironically, I'm wearing a shirt from State Line Door and Lift.
Of course you are.
No, notice it doesn't even say their stuff on it.
Listen, they're not advertising.
No.
They're not.
He doesn't even know I'm talking about him. For all I know, he might get mad that I talked about him.
Nah.
But
you know what? He might be.
This is their motto. Punch today in the face. Like they literally go out every day to just dominate the day. Punch today in the face, okay? And that means deliver the best service at the best quality at the best price they can and just win the day.
And have great customer service.
Right. And that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Guys, that pretty much wraps up.
Good stories today, man.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's show. Remember, if you like what you're hearing, please do us a favor and help share the void with anyone else you think that might be wanting to start their own business. We saw an opportunity to help others understand that self-employment isn't out of your reach, and just as our businesses have grown by word-of-mouth referrals, we would love for this show to do the same thing. So if you see somebody out there on social media asking questions about how to start their own company, drop a link to the show, please. It's going to help them out. It'll help you out. You're helping us out by helping share the show. We're for sure on YouTube, and we're working right now on getting onto Spotify and iTunes and some other platforms. So
it won't be long.
It won't be long. Please do us a favor and help share the void, and we'd really appreciate you helping us out. Until next time, have a great week.
Thanks, guys. Love you.